Hello, friends. So happy to have you here with us today at Radical Joy. If you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time with us, we're glad you're here. Each Wednesday, we're here with you talking about things that weigh on our minds and hearts, hoping if you're dealing with something similar, we can adjust our perspectives as you listen. The more people we meet and the more places we go, the more we realize how important it is to make people aware of the fact that there is no shame in enjoying the parts of our lives that are incredible. It's time for some radical joy, and this week, the three fingers pointing back at us are for new friends and our guest, Bianca Pierre-Louis. Bianca is a board-certified family nurse practitioner, paranormal investigator, world traveler, and content creator. Her love for the paranormal is rooted in her empathic gifts. She is passionate about diversifying the paranormal world and enjoys connecting and collaborating with fellow creatives of the spooky and horror community. Welcome, Bianca.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh my gosh, I am thrilled. Before we just launch into how amazing a human being and what you're doing, I just want to make sure everyone knows Bianca and I had a meet a little earlier, and I love this about her because she's like, I want to get a feel about the host. I want to know if this is something that I want to dedicate time to. And after an hour of literally just sinking and vibing and grooving and
Yeah.
laughing, I could not wait to have Bianca here on the show. And I'm so excited that she felt similarly because here she is looking absolutely amazing. If you're not watching, her hair is absolutely fantastic. She's wearing this
Thank you.
beautiful blouse in an ivory color with like black trim and accent. And she has some of her passions on the wall behind her.
That I do.
Right? So what I would love to do is just sort of turn the floor over to you, Bianca, just so you can tell our listeners more about who it is you are, what it is you do, and why it is you're here.
First and foremost, hello everyone. Thank you for having me, James. It is a pleasure to be here. Absolutely is a joy. So, as mentioned previously, my name is Bianca Pierre-Louis. By day, I'm a board certified family nurse practitioner. I'm also a professor. And by evening, I love the paranormal. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. And traveling has always been so big for me. Been traveling since I was young, all over the world. Traveling truly is a passion. But what I recently started doing is during my travels, I look for the spooky component of it. So I can be in an island, but I'm like, okay, so where's the haunted areas here? And my friends are always like, okay, B, if we're traveling with B, we know we're probably going to end up in a cemetery somewhere. I'm like, I'm glad that we're all on the same accord. Um,
Yeah.
but a big part of what I do in the paranormal genuinely is, as also mentioned, diversifying the paranormal space. Now, there aren't a lot of people that look like me in the paranormal space. So, with that, what I've been doing is essentially the stories and the information that I receive while investigating and doing my research, I make sure that is from another perspective, from people of color, to be very honest.
Okay.
It's just big. So also, I have empathic gifts. I'm a pure empath, so I'm all about energies and vibes. So from there, and that actually started when I was younger. As I've gotten older, it kind of, piqued my curiosity, like, okay, what is this? Like, I know it's something, but I don't, what is this? Why do I feel when things are going to happen and things happen to family members? Like, why do I know when something's going to happen, or why do I feel the energy's off? Like,
Mhm.
what's going on here? So that's, I kind of been living like that my whole life. So as I've gotten older, like I mentioned, that's really recently what's gotten me into, like, all right, let's develop these gifts more. Let's also use these gifts to not only tell just your stories, but also stories of those that may have passed on as well. So when I combine my empathic gifts and my love for paranormal, spooky, horror, Halloween, the whole jazz, you got me, also known as Spooky Mountain Magic. So Spooky Mountain Magic actually is my alias, per se, my spooky alias. And you can find me on Instagram and the socials as Spooky Mountain Magic. So that's me, the lovely goddess that I am. Also known as Spooky Mountain Magic.
Yes. Well, I love learning about these kind of things because I continue to tell our listeners, it's like, I don't want to sound woo woo. And then the next thing coming out of my mouth is woo woo. It's literally the purest form of woo woo. And it's
Yeah,
the more I learn and the more I open myself to those kind of things, there are very
yeah,
clear connections, I think,
yes,
between
yes,
all of us as a community, as a people, as a species. And I just continue to be like, okay, so this I am continually shown. It's not that I ask for it. It's not that I even look for it. It just continues to reveal itself to me. I'm like, oh,
yes,
okay, all right. And instead of being a naysayer, instead of being a negative person, because I don't think that's who I choose to be,
right,
I just want to be open to whatever clearly the universe is telling me in very
yes,
specific and clear terms. I'm like, oh, how about I just listen instead of thinking I know everything? Wouldn't that be a
yes,
novel idea?
yes,
And getting to speak to someone who has done that so much earlier and continues to work on and improve and strengthen those gifts. I'm like, see, this is what I would love to learn more about because I think a lot of people out there do have an inkling and they don't have to
yes,
go whole hog, but I think it's so important for them to learn more about it, not fear it, not doubt it, but just understand that certain parts of these of the plane where we live has these sort of
yes,
truths to it on whatever
yes.
level you choose to indulge or I guess investigate.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I mean, I could not agree with you more. I feel a big part of it is also intuition, right?
Yes.
We all have that intuition. We all have that gut feel that's like, something's not right, or something's a little off here. And oftentimes we're quick to like, let me just dismiss it, or it's whatever. And what's interesting is when you think about it, I've rarely heard someone say, oh, my instinct was wrong. Oh, my gut was wrong. It's usually, oh, I should listen to my gut. I should have paid more attention to what I was feeling. So, with that, and that's a big part of also what leads me during investigations is that gut feeling like, okay, there's some sadness here, something's off here. Maybe there's a spirit or entity here that may not be the nicest or the friendliest here. So you know what? Let me listen to that and let me maybe back out a little bit, or maybe let me revisit this.
Yes.
So I feel like with our intuition and just that gut feeling, we really need to listen to it more. We need to connect to it more. And oftentimes, and exactly how you mentioned, James, we are all interconnected. Like we really are.
Agree.
But with life and everything that's just zooming past us, we're so quick to dismiss that,
Yes.
unfortunately.
It breaks my heart. And it's so funny because
Yeah.
just like what you said, if I had listened to my intuition,
Yes.
and it's just it's there for a reason. It's like another organ. I wanted to say another sense, but
Yes.
then you get in the sixth sense thing and da 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 da.
Yes.
Great, and
Yes.
it's not that I'm doubting that or calling it into question. It's just that I know a lot of people have a really difficult time putting their faith into something like that or putting credence into it.
Yes. Yes.
Great. So let me reframe that for you. You know, whenever something bad is about to happen because you get that little tickle behind your navel, you get that little itch underneath your
Oh,
ear.
yes. Oh,
Please
yes.
listen to that. That is some sort of
Yes.
like instinctual. It's carryover from thousands of
Yes.
years ago. Whenever that meant the difference between being prey or living another day. It's so
That's
important.
big.
If you can't think of it as
That's
some sort
big.
of like mystic connection, because I think a lot of people
Yeah.
are quick to jump to something like that, great.
Yes.
Think of it
Yes.
as an evolutionary holdover whenever we
Yes.
were sleeping in trees and we needed to make sure that we got to live to see the sunrise another day. Great.
Oh, yeah.
Does that
Oh,
work for
yeah.
you? Oh, that's
Absolutely.
much easier. Yeah. Okay.
That's so
Same
true.
animal,
Right. It's
but he
like,
passed
okay,
away. Great.
sounds good.
Right.
So true.
Yes.
So true. And also too, like we feel it in our bellies, literally in our gut. Hence why we call it the gut instinct. Like it's there.
Yeah.
Or let's say that you enter a space or there's a decision to be made, that first initial that yes or that no, that's your gut speaking to you. And you know that it's your gut, your intuition, because it's louder than literally everything else. Like it is loud, it speaks to you, it's very I don't want to say firm, but it's very no, it's firm. It's firm. And again, oftentimes we go into everything else, trying to dismiss it like, oh, maybe it's just my stomach or maybe it's just gas. No, it's actually your gut speaking to you. It's your intuition telling you, hey, danger, danger, don't do this. Or yes, do this. This is a yes. And also remember too, our bodies can't always distinguish the difference between excitement, like what's getting you excited, and if there's actually something going on, right?
Yes.
So again, with that, that's where your intuition, your gut is telling you, hey, listen to me. Don't dismiss me. I'm telling you what's actually going on.
Yes.
But we have to listen to it. We have to pay attention to it. We do. We do.
And sometimes you walk into a thing where, okay, not everyone all the time knows the entire situation.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone all the time has the purest intentions
Yes.
in heart.
Yes.
So whenever you walk into something like that and there's something that is literally speaking to you to say, be careful, be aware, be
Yes.
tentative step carefully
Oh,
here.
yes.
Please listen to that because my friend and I were just talking, there's the cerebral and then there's the instinctual. And it would be wonderful if they were one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely is that the thing.
Right. Right.
And so if I have to choose, I'm gonna put all of the alerts up. I'm gonna make sure the hackles are risen, and I'm gonna approach carefully if one is saying one thing and the other is saying the other until we can get those guys on the same page.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just like and it's so important. It's faith is
Yes.
really what it comes down to.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah, it definitely
If
comes
I
down
can
to.
just super simplify it,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like another part of that too is people people tend to throw religion into it and think, oh, well, if you listen to your intuition, you must be doing XYZ or XYZ. And it's like, it's not the same thing. It's
no,
not the same thing.
no, it isn't.
It's not. It's
And
not.
that's no dispersion to religion.
Of
It's one
course.
of those things I'm just like,
Yeah.
just understand those aren't the same thing. I appreciate
Correct.
you trying to say that, but please understand coming at me with that information when you're not necessarily as well versed in what
Yes.
I'm feeling
Yes.
versus what you are sharing with me.
Yes.
We need to meet in the middle so we
Correct.
can both get on the same page before proceeding. It can be, I hesitate to say the word dangerous, but it can be a
Right.
little bit riskier for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Oh my
go into
gosh.
places that are inhabited by otherworldly, and you're like, "Okay, so if I'm
We're
willing
doing
to do
this.
that, I need to definitely use that specific skill set
Yes.
and proceed with caution."
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh
Yeah.
yes. And I will say that too. Before I start any of like in my investigations, like me, Bianca, personally, I will always tap in with myself, and that's where my religion comes in. Because I also feel that it is important to have some sort of protection, right, before you go into these spaces, because you don't know what you're going to encounter, right? So for
Yeah.
me, I always make sure it's very important. People will ask me, like, what do you do to prepare before you go into investigation? Like, what do you just kind of walk in? Are you carrying a rosary? Are you throwing holy water? Like, what do you do?
Sure.
And
Valid.
yeah, and I'm like, no, I completely understand. So for me, Bianca, personally, what I do before investigations, I pray. I have my sage, I have my crystals, I have my Palo Santo. Depending on the location, I may or may not have a rosary with me, but I usually have my crystals like in my pocket or in my, if I have like a little satchel, I'll have it in there.
Hmm.
And then afterwards, after the investigation, I always make sure I close out. I thank the entities for allowing me into the space, for allowing me to investigate, for allowing me to come in. I also thank them for any information that I may receive, but I also make sure too, I say, please don't let anything follow me home. You are not welcome to follow me home. So I always make sure that's my like closeout. Like, don't come home with
Absolutely.
me, basically.
A boundary.
Don't boundaries.
Sure.
Don't come home with me. And then of course
Right.
when I do get home, I always take like a nice shower. If I'm in a hotel, if I'm traveling, take a nice shower. Again, just kind of sage my space, Palo Santo my area. What else do I do? That's really it. And then just like vibe wise, usually before and after investigations, I'm not really like on the phone or talking to people. Like I kind of just like to decompress, like time to my own self and kind of just like take in the
Yes.
experiences that I have had. So probably I probably won't really talk to or kiki with friends probably till like the day after, because I'm just like I'm also an introvert. I'm a Scorpio, super
Okay.
introverted. So I just so it's like I just just need to decompress first. That's big for me.
Yes. And I think that's great. It also it gives a little homage and respect and space to the entities you encounter, just
Absolutely.
in case they just, like, if they're curious,
Yeah.
those kind of things that may
Yes.
or may not, like, keep an eyeball on you from their space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, okay, great. I'm taking the respect, I'm giving the homage, and I don't go right back to my life. I take a
Right.
moment to take all that in,
Absolutely.
digest, process, and then I go back to it, moving forward with what I've learned.
Absolutely.
And I love that. I think that's
Thank
such a
you.
wonderful thing to do. And I think that's great to do with a lot of different things,
Oh,
quite
yes.
frankly.
Yes.
If you've
Yes.
got a lot of information coming at you, whether that be from, one of our people
Yeah.
versus maybe someone passed on or any
Yeah.
of these other forces at work, to be able to just sort of like take that time to fully integrate it, especially
Yes.
if it's like of a life-changing variety.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Agreed.
so nice to be able to just sit with that for a
Oh my
moment.
gosh, it's so nice. And also to piggyback off of what you just mentioned, it can also be draining, to be honest. Like oftentimes I've
Yeah.
left investigation, I'm like, I'm tired. Like just energetically, like I'm tired. Like I need to take a nap, after my shower, rest. Like I am tired. So oftentimes I'm not really in that space where it's like, oh my God, let me tell you what I just did. Oh my God. Like I'm not there yet. Give me like 2 or 3 business
Sure.
days to kind of get it together a little bit. But it is tired. It is draining. And again, remember, we're using our own energy also to kind of be like a conduit per se, for any messages
Yes.
that are being received. And also the equipment that we're using, whether it's the EMF reader or, whatever sort of equipment that we're using, all of that also takes energy from us as well. So I'm like, okay, we got to decompress first.
Absolutely. Well, and I also think of it too, like part of the energy that you take into a room like that is also somewhat offering or
Yes.
consumed by the entities around.
Yes.
So not
Oh,
only are
yes.
you like on high alert, so all of your senses are just like level
Yes.
11,
Yes.
and then there could be someone in the room that may be benevolent, may not,
Correct.
also feeding off what you are as, one of us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then whenever you get what you've gotten and you make sure that the closure has been performed and then
Yes.
you leave, you're like, okay, I need a snack and a nap.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yes. And again, exactly how you mentioned, they're also feeding off of us, off of our energy as well. So it's like, whoo, tired. Like,
Right.
tired. I'm
Exactly.
tired. I'm tired. And, if you are someone with high energy, not to say like you're the perfect, again, conduit per se for some of these spirits, from these entities, but essentially you are, because you're coming in with such energy and they're like, great, you're the perfect person for me to relay this message or this signal or whatever I need to do. And also during these investigations, it's not like, we're in a super illuminated room, right? So we are using our senses. Oftentimes it is, darker or dimly lit places. So we're using all of our senses that we don't often do when you actually really think about it, day to day, right? And so now,
Yeah.
of course, all of our senses are, they're just going. It's like, what do you hear? Like, wait, did I actually hear something? Now you're trying to distinguish, like, is it my mind playing tricks on me because I want to see something or I want to hear something, or did I actually hear something? Okay, same thing with the vision. Did I actually see something? Did something whiz past me? Was that an orb, or was that a piece of dust? Like, you're literally using all of your senses, even touch, right? It's like,
Yep.
oh, did something just touch me, or was that the person next to me whose book bag may have brush against my arm? Like, it's just so many things. So you're literally using all your senses the whole time during the investigation. Yeah. So you're drained.
Yeah. Exactly. Because we're, being the year of our Lord 2024,
Yes.
we don't deal with that much heightened
Yes.
sensation
Right.
all the time.
Right.
In short bursts, absolutely, that's a really good time. But like, you know, we don't deal with that sort of high alert
Yeah. Yeah.
need. It's not necessarily something we deal with on a
Yeah.
day-to-day basis. So to
It's true.
walk into a situation like that, luckily, you've put yourself there, so you're
Yes.
expecting it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so whenever you leave, not only have you been on like mega high alert for however long,
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
also offered up and given some of your energy,
Yeah.
or quite a bit of your energy to this endeavor, and then you walk away like, okay, yeah, now I need a turkey leg. Thank you, God. Great. Yeah,
It's so true.
right.
It's so true. Like literally, I put my phone on do not disturb and I put myself on do not disturb because I'm like, I
Amen.
I need to decompress.
Yes. And And if I may, I would love to make a parallel to that for where
Yes.
we are here at Radical Joy, because I think that what you're describing can apply to so much.
Yes.
You walk into a new relationship, you walk into a
Yeah.
new job, you walk into a
Yes.
new scenario that you're very excited to be in, but you're also somewhat tentative, a little
Yes.
bit anxious.
Of course.
So all of your everything is on high alert, and you're probably putting out just a little more energy than you're used to doing. And
Of course.
whenever you get done, you're going to feel drained. You're
Of
going to
course.
feel like exhausted.
Yeah.
And honestly, what a wonderful thing,
Yeah.
because you're not on just like this small wave, you're on a much larger arc,
Absolutely.
and giving yourself the time and the space and the fuel
Yes.
to bring yourself back up to a baseline or
Yeah.
even a little bit higher. You
Hmm.
started out maybe a higher baseline now
That's
that
true.
you've had this experience or exposed yourself to this new experience. Wonderful. That's
Oh,
exactly what I hope for all of our listeners. Like,
yeah.
yeah, that.
Yes.
Try something new,
Absolutely.
unchartered,
Yes.
something that you've wanted to do, but you haven't, and now you do, and now your heart rate's up and your breath's coming a
Yes.
little bit faster. Great. And when
Yes.
you're done, yeah, you're going to be exhausted. Well
Yep.
done.
Trained.
You did it. You
But
did
you
the
did it.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. And it also, just to piggyback, it just brings you to like a higher awareness just of yourself. Like, wow, I could have been petrified, all the jazz, but like I did that and I'm still here. And now you can either continue to do that or do even more. So I just feel like that's important. That's important to experience.
I
Complacency. We
agree.
don't do complacency over here, right? We don't do that. We don't do that.
Thank you.
We keep going.
No.
We don't do that. We don't do that over here.
Exactly. Our first meeting was exactly that. It was literally just, and I love that you use the verb piggyback. I'm like, yeah, mama, you
Yes.
jump, because I promise I can tote you. The
Yes.
younger you bring into this, we could go miles,
Oh
okay?
yes. Oh yes.
Ah, and that's just it. It's so wonderful because that's it, like complacency and just, I love routine. Routine is so
Yes,
important for
of
so
course.
many things.
Of
And
course.
then there's a thing as well that you overcome and you exceed and you expand,
Yes.
so that whenever you go back to your
Huge.
routine, you can add more steps to it so you continue to grow and strengthen, not
Ooh.
only for yourself, but for those who rely on you.
Yes.
And what you're describing here is exactly
Ooh.
what I'm hoping people can take away from this. Because I understand not everybody's going to really get on board with the paranormal.
Of course.
I don't mind that.
Right.
That's fine. We're not trying to push anybody to anything.
Of
What we're
course.
saying is everything is connected.
Everything.
And what you're describing here can absolutely be applied to daily life. And for folks who don't necessarily feel the same way we do,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Understand, you're not isolated. You're
Right.
not an island.
Right. That's true. You're not. You're
Yeah,
not. And key word that you said that's just like resonate with me right now is expansion. Expansion, expansion, expansion. Like,
yes.
yes, we need to expand. And as we all expand, that just connects us all even more.
Agreed. Because as you get
Huge.
bigger, literally, that spiritual surface area just
Yes.
continues to grow,
Yes.
and it butts into other
Oh,
people's
yes.
like aura,
Yes.
sphere, their feelers, however you want
Yes.
to talk about it,
Yes.
and it's just more points of contact. It's just
Yeah.
more ways for us to connect
Oh,
and
yeah.
find a way to find similarities and what we love, and
For
move
sure.
forward with that, because it's so easy
It
once you leave
is.
yourself open to it.
It is. It really is. But we just gotta be accepting and willing to put ourselves in that space. We just gotta
Agreed.
do it. We just gotta do it.
And then for you to be a travel bug as
Oh
well
my
is such a
gosh.
wonderful
Thank
thing.
you.
I have been so excited. We just got back from Brazil,
Yes.
and we just booked our flights for Kenya and Tanzania.
Stop. Oh my gosh. When are you going
Yeah.
again? In a few months?
We went to Brazil for Carnival, which was
Yes.
incredible, and then
Yes.
we leave for Kenya, Tanzania the second half of May. We'll be gone from the
That's
14th to the 29th.
Oh my gosh. And I don't remember if I told you the last time we spoke, but I'm going to Senegal in April. Yeah, so I'm excited. So I can't wait for us to kiki when we both get back.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I'm so
Senegal is
excited.
absolutely stunning. It's
Yes,
absolutely
yes, yes. I
beautiful. It's
cannot wait.
wonderful. And for you to get to
Oh,
spend some time there, I'm so excited for you
thank
because, yeah,
you.
we had mentioned it, but I
Yes.
didn't I didn't know if it was finalized yet. So
Yes.
that's
Oh yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's
Congratulations.
happening. Thank you. That's gonna be the third week of April. I'll be gone. I'm
Brilliant. Oh my
excited.
gosh. Yeah. Ah,
Thank
because
you.
I have a friend here right now. He's staying with me. We're going to the rugby match this afternoon,
Yes.
and he's Australian, and he has 2 young sons, and he's got a
Oh.
beautiful Dominican wife. They live in New York,
Mm,
and he's talking to me. He's like, "I feel like it's irresponsible that I'm taking the boys back to Australia for Christmas." I
mm.
said, Why?" He's like, "Well, maybe it's it's expensive and it's this time away and da 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 da." I said, "Trust me, his boys are very young."
Mhm.
And I said, "This time that you spend with your boys teaching about, your family and spending this
Yes.
time with them on a plane, doing the things
Yes.
you did when you grew up and all this," said, "that is invaluable. You will
Oh,
never
yes.
get this time again." And because
Mm.
they're so young, they see you as the hero
Yes.
of every story.
Yep.
There will come a day when that will no longer be the case. I
Right.
said, "So while you've got it, they may not appreciate it the way you appreciate it now. They will grow to know."
Mhm. Yes.
And it was just it's
Yes.
such an important thing for education, for expanding your mind, for
Oh my
hearing the
god,
things
yes.
that we hear in the media
Yes.
here versus what the world is really doing.
Absolutely.
Not to get, like, dark on anybody, but just like, you need to see for yourself.
Oh,
Don't
absolutely.
always trust what
Don't you
everybody's
just you
telling you.
have to, you have to. And just again, traveling again, it brings back to our word expansion. It's so big. You learn about different cultures, different food, different people, different languages, different traditions. Like you just learn so much. And again, it continues to expand your brain, expand your knowledge base. And like how you mentioned, you'll see certain things on the media, but when you get there, it's not actually that, or it could even be completely different than what is portrayed right in the media. Um,
Yes.
and with traveling, I don't know. There's just something about traveling for me. Like, I'm not the super earliest bird, but I can have like a 5 a.m. flight, and I'm like, let's go. It'll be like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, I'm ready. Like, it's just like, wait, what?
100%.
But it's just the
100%.
excitement of going somewhere different, knowing that I'm going to experience something that's different from my everyday life. I'm going to be with people that's different from my everyday life. Yes, of course, I
Mhm.
enjoy the touristy areas, do little cute little photo shoots, you little, all the jazz.
Right?
Love that, live for that. But I'm also very much that person that's like, hey, take me where the locals are, right? Yes,
Yes.
take me to where the locals shop, where the locals eat. I'll do the touristy jazz, but like take me where the people are. That's where I want to go. Take me where the culture is, where the tradition is. That's what I love,
Agree.
love to see. And those type of experiences, I feel like cannot be remade in any way, shape, or form at all. And then, of course, I'm always
Agreed.
like, there any folklores, any ghost stories? I'm like, who is this girl?
Exactly. Oh my god, well, you're literally talking about the culture, like,
Yeah.
anything about folklore, that's
Oh, yes.
literally the history of the
Huge.
people
Yes.
on, like, an oral
Oh,
tradition, which
yes.
I love, and there's
Yes.
also, like, superstitions
Yes.
and
Yes.
magics
I love
that
it.
people 100% believe in from a certain region,
Yes.
and they'll go, "Oh, yeah, that was so and so." I was like, "I'm sorry?"
Yeah. Like,
And
what?
like,
What?
"Yeah," and they will literally talk to you like, "Oh, yeah, that's bread and
True.
eggs." I'm
It's
like,
true.
Oh," and it's just so fun to be
It's so
let
much
into
fun.
that.
It's so
Because
much
they wanna
fun.
share if you want to know. They're not
Yes.
gonna just share that with
No.
anyone. When you specifically ask,
Yes.
it's like their whole world opens, like this whole other
Yes.
channel of their
Yes.
culture just cracks open. They're like,
Yes.
"Oh, oh, I really wanna know.
Yes. And you
You're
get
not just here to
excited.
buy the t-shirt." I'm like, "I love
No,
it."
no. I mean, I'll get the t-shirt, throw it in my bag, but like, just tell me everything. I want to soak up all the information. And they genuinely do get excited. And it's like, wow,
Oh
you
my
want
god.
to learn about us as a people. I'm like, yes, tell me more.
Yes.
Tell me everything.
And I think that's such a wonderful, like, outlook whenever you go be a traveler.
Yes.
I don't
Oh,
want
yes.
the United States to come with me, so whenever I get there, it's just the United States with a different weather
Yes.
system.
Right.
Whenever I get there, I want to know what it is. Like, I wanna, like, be in it, and I'll ask, like, the weird questions because more than one Uber driver has looked at me bizarrely whenever I ask about, what's going on. They're like, "You really" It's like, "Yeah, that's what I wanna know."
Yeah.
I don't need this. I want to taste that, the touristy
Yes.
part, of course, because, that's just what it's known
Part of
for.
it. Yep.
And then I wanna dig.
Yes.
Then I wanna get under it.
Yes. Yes. It
And
is a
like you
time.
said, isn't it? And it just unlocks the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because whenever you want to be more than just a tourist, you really wanna know about the culture,
Yes.
that's whenever it especially non-Western cultures
Mhm.
or, like, non-American specific
Yes.
cultures, people get very excited to show you about who
They
their people
do.
are
They do. They
and
do.
not what you see on television or social media or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's again, that continues to connect us as a people, right? Because just the way I'm sure they leave lasting impressions on us, and you get back home to the US, like, let me tell you about what I experienced. It could be the same for them, like, wow, this tourist came and so came, and yes, they did all the fun touristy stuff, but they actually want to know about us as a people. And guess what I shared with them today, right? So that continues to connect us as a people and just throughout the world.
Yes.
I think it's beautiful.
Yep. Agree.
I think
And
it's
it's so much fun.
it's a
Whenever you
good time.
see someone light up, you can tell whenever someone is working versus someone is loving,
Yes. Yes,
you
yes,
know?
and yes. Yes. I feel like that it's just so evident. Evident,
Right.
evident, evident.
Yes. When someone changes from tour guide to cousin,
Yes,
basically,
yes.
"Oh, you're just extended family that just showed up today. Hold on. This no, 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 we're
So
gonna leave all this
true.
behind. Da, 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 da,
It's
da."
so
So and here we
true.
go.
It's so true.
Throw them in the back of the car, and
Yep,
away we go.
and
We got
let's go.
snacks in the front, we got a
Yep,
basket in the back, let's go.
I love that.
Exactly.
I
Oh,
love
oh,
that.
oh.
Love that.
And I
Yeah.
think they prefer it,
I think
honestly.
so too, to be honest. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
yes, our job, tour guide, da da da. But you can, like, exactly how you mentioned, you can really tell when they open up and they're just like, oh my God, let me tell you about everything. And also when they see you are receiving as well, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm game. Like, yeah, throw me in the back, let's do this. It's like, yes, like we're all on the same accord. When that comfort level, that mutual comfort level is established, oh, it's a time. It is a
Agree.
time.
Ugh. We're always talking about that here on Radical Joy. We're like, "Hey,
Yeah,
whenever you travel, don't be a tourist,
I
okay? I
know. I
understand.
know.
You wanna get gifts for everybody, and
Got it.
you wanna do the things.
Yes.
Of course. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. I'm not
Yes.
saying don't. I'm saying please give yourself the leeway
Mhm.
to be to learn what the locals are doing because I understand there's a very specific commercial draw for that. I
Yes.
get it. A lot of people rely on that very heavily for their economic success.
Of course.
Super. Not going against it at all, not bucking that system. I'm not the typical tourist. Like there are people
Mhm.
who want to know the story and then they want to go back to their hotel and that's what they want to do and that's also fine. If that's your gig, get after it.
Mhm.
There is a richness, a diversity, a depth of culture and knowledge so much deeper than what they
Yes.
give you on the tourist
Oh
level.
yes.
If you but ask, it's
Literally.
so simple.
So simple.
The keys are huge and they are literally just waiting for you to pick them up and put
Yeah.
them in the lock.
It's true. It's true. It's so I mean, I could not agree with you more. And if you don't mind if I share a quick story from one of my
Please,
travels.
we love an anecdote. Come on.
A quick story from one of my travels. This was back in 20 when was it? This was in 2021. And I had went to Costa Rica for a wellness retreat. So I had some time. I got there a couple of days early prior to the retreat, and I was, exploring around the capital and going around San Jose, visiting different parts of Costa Rica, all that jazz. And before I had went, I looked up, of course, haunted locations in Costa Rica. And what populated was the Sanatorio de Duran, which basically was an insane asylum that was built back in the 60s by Carlos Duran, who's the president at the time. And it started out as a tuberculosis hospital. So his
Oh,
daughter had contracted TB, and he had it built like far out, like, so maybe it was about an hour and change outside the capital, but you're going up mountains and everything and all that jazz to get to it because it's in a more remote location. And I was like, okay, I don't care how, I need to get there. Like, I'm going to get to that asylum. And once I found out that you can go there, I think you pay, the conversion was maybe like $3 and you can stay on the property for
right.
as long as you want, from like 9 to 5. It's up to you. It's explore at your own. There wasn't really a tour guide, but it's like just explore at your own, basically. And I'm like, oh, say no more. So I remember I did a city tour. I did a city
Right.
tour and I ended up meeting this woman. Her and I, we just, to be honest, we were both the only black women on the tour, and we're like, oh my god, you're black, I'm black, we're friends, great. So that's literally what happened. And she was
Is that how
like,
that works?
oh yeah,
Right.
definitely how it works. It's like, oh yeah, you kind of make that eye contact, like, oh, I see you too, okay, we're now friends. And literally legit after the tour, she's like, what are you doing after this? And I was like, well, I do want to go visit Sanatorio de Duran. And she's like, what's that? So I told her the backstory about it. And I was like, don't mind me. I love everything spooky, paranormal, all that jazz. And she's like, wait, but me too. Can I go with you? I was like, what? So her and we get into an Uber. When we had put in the address, when the Uber driver pulled up, he was like, I just want to clarify, like, this is where you guys want to go? And we're like, yeah. He was just like, what is wrong with these two? So literally, it was like it was windy, but when we got there was like, whoa, this, like, I felt like I was transported back into like some movie. I can't even explain it. It was so like breathtaking, but I can also say it was also very draining in the sense where it went from being an insane asylum. At one point, it housed children. Another point, it housed prisoners. Like it went through a lot of different phases, and all of those different energies were 100% still there. So her and we were exploring. Oh my god, I think we were there for maybe like 3 or 4 hours, just exploring, having a time, taking photos, recording. We went into the morgue. Of course, I'm like, let's go to the morgue, and like the original morgue
Absolutely.
sign was still there. Like it was a time, like amazing, amazing, amazing. The funniest part now was getting back down. I did not take into
Uh,
account that there was no service.
there's no
And
service.
yep,
I was
no
curious. Yeah.
service. And here we are,
Ooh.
and it's closing time. And I'm like, okay, so how are we gonna do this? Because I have no service, you have no service. So we're literally in the parking lot, like looking for like just walking around looking for any kind of service. I'm like, it's either that or we're gonna have to hitchhike. I don't know what we're gonna have to do. But thank
Absolutely.
goodness,
Sure.
I think she found like just like this midget little bar, just enough to order Uber to come back to get us. And we're able to get
Uh-huh.
we're able to get an Uber back down to our Airbnb. But I say all that to say that even when we initially got into Uber to go there, when I say the driver's face was just like, what? Why? Like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from New York. And I forgot what state she's from, but she's from the States as well. And he was just like, you come to Costa Rica for this? And I'm like, no, no. Like, it was just the funniest conversation. But then when I was explaining
Yeah.
to him like the history and this is why I'm interested, he was like, huh, that's different. Like, wow, that's different. But that's just like a piece of, Costa Rican history per se. That's spooky, paranormal. And I will say the energy there is intense. Like, you feel everything. When I got back to Airbnb, like, I literally had to take a nap because I was
Yeah.
so, and it wasn't even like a formal investigation. It was like, oh my God, let's just go. But just walking around, I'm like, whoa, it was active here. It was active here. There were kids there. Like, it was, you feel it. You feel all of it. Um, but it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And then one more story I will say super quick was also this was
Yeah.
in 2022 when I was in Turkey. I went to Cappadocia, and I visited one of the underground cities. And of course, here I go like, just quick question: are they haunted? And then the tour guide was kind of like, huh? And then she actually pulled me aside, and I guess like in Turkey, haunted and ghosts aren't really spoken about. But she's like, but because you're
Oh.
interested, let me tell you in the corner. I'm like, oh, tell me, girl, tell me what's going on, girl. And
Right.
and she's like, no, people have felt things, people have heard things. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of residual energy in these underground cities, but they don't say that or advertise it per se because they don't want to scare people away. And again, I guess in the
Sure.
Turkish culture, that's not something that they really harp on per se or really talk
The
about.
evil eye is a thing.
It's a
Their
thing. Oh,
protection is super part
huge,
of the culture.
huge,
Yeah.
huge. So she,
Yeah.
again, with me asking, it's like, she was able to give me that tidbit, but I also learned, just in the culture, that's not something they really talk about. But again, just traveling and just exploring these different places, you really learn so much. Just ask the questions and just explore. It's such a time. It's a time.
Yeah.
It's a time. It's a time. And there's one more
Well,
place
and
I do want to when I go to Jamaica.
oh yeah.
The was it the Rose
Ooh.
Hall? I know there's a Rose Hall.
Uh-huh.
I need to get there. It's on my list.
You
That's
need
it.
to get there.
Yep, that's it.
Because also Jamaica is so steeped in these kinds of things.
Oh
And everyone believes it. Either
yeah.
it is like it was part of their family
Yes.
history, it
Oh
was
yeah.
part of the culture,
Oh
it
yeah.
was somebody's grandma,
Yes.
great aunt, whatever.
Yep.
Like it is so prevalent in
Yes.
so much of their culture. That is a wonderful place
Oh yeah.
to go and enjoy.
Oh
Also,
yeah.
super close to New York.
I
Like you can get there for cheap,
I
cheap, cheap, cheap.
know. Yeah, that's on my list
Yeah.
to go just specifically for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are my fun little travel stories that popped into my head. And I will also say one more thing. When I
Yeah.
was in Turkey, I did the hot air balloon ride, and actually we were able below to see cemeteries that were above ground cemeteries. So kind of imagine the cemeteries in New Orleans but in
Yes.
Turkey, and you're looking at them from down from a hot air balloon. Super amazing. I'm just like, look at the cemeteries. Everyone's like, what is wrong with this girl? I'm like, this is so. Do you guys not see the cemeteries? Like, they're above ground cemeteries, and we're in a hot air balloon looking at this. Like, is this not? Are we
Yeah.
not taking this in? And they're just like, no, we're kind of looking at the mountains. I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Oh, okay, fine.
I'm
What
looking
you
at the
know,
cemetery.
different strokes, different folks. I'm
That part.
absolutely open to it. I'm like, all right, fine.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, that's
Enjoy what you
cute.
like.
All right,
Yeah.
but I'm looking at the cemetery here.
Right. Do it. Absolutely. Well, that's another wonderful thing about travel too. Like, I love that the way that you described it too. You go to a place and you expect, I know I do, I just assume that if you live there, you know everything about a
Yeah,
place, which could not be farther from the truth.
right.
You get there and you tell them that you want to go to this place. They look at you with the hairy eyeball and
Yes.
like, did I stutter? Take me to
Correct.
the
Let's
place.
go.
Please. Thank you. Yeah. Not to be curt about it, but also I got things to do.
That part.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to me because now we're both learning something.
Yeah.
And then the person who comes to fetch me in the Uber, they're like, what the hell were you doing there?
It's true.
Well, let me just tell you.
It's true.
I'm glad you asked
It's so
because, and
true.
then
Yeah.
and then there are no coincidences in the
Of
world.
course
The
not.
fact that your friend had one bar to call the Uber, that was not a
One.
coincidence.
One.
Bingo.
One.
Bingo. Come
Like
on.
it. Oh my gosh. That
Right?
really. It was a time. That was a time. That was the
Yeah.
time. And exactly how you said too, when the Uber driver came and got us to bring us back down, it was kind of like when he pulled up, was just like, am I at the right place?
What?
And we're like,
You're in the middle of
hey!
nowhere. I see these two
Yep,
women, so that must be my fare.
yep.
Like, what the
What
deuce? Yeah.
why are you guys like literally it was in the most remote just like you literally like how did you get there? Like
Yeah.
what? And we're when we got into the Uber, we're like we're talking. And the Uber driver just like, what in the world kind of Americans? Like, what is going on over here?
Exactly. What in the star spangled
No,
hell? Yeah.
literally,
Exactly.
literally, literally. Like,
And that's another thing
true.
too. Like, what if you ignite something in somebody who had never thought about
Right.
following these kinds of things?
Yes. Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
like you say in Turkey, they don't speak of it because
Correct.
again, it's very much in the culture you protect yourself from
Yeah.
evil spirits.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of the jewelry, a lot of the decoration in the homes, those kind of things do carry the maloik, the evil eye
Yes.
ward,
Yes.
to make sure that those kind of things. So you may not speak about it openly. It doesn't mean it's not talked about. You just got to
Correct.
find the right person to chit
Correct.
chat with you about it.
Yes.
Someone who knows how to protect themselves and
Of
speak
course.
safely about these
Of
things.
course.
And that in itself is such an interesting way of going about
Of
it.
course.
In other cultures, it's spoken about like you would talk about your grocery
Of
list.
course.
In others, you have to speak about it in hushed tones with the proper lighting and candles burning, etc.,
Absolutely.
to make sure that when you speak of the dead or the spirits, they don't come to do malevolent things to
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All of these
It's
things
true.
come into play, and they're so
It's true.
fascinating.
It's true. It's I mean, I could not agree with you, James, more. And that actually ties into my like personal family life. So my parents were Haitian. So it's so funny
Mm.
because my parents, they look at me and they're just like the only child that we have, and she's out here chasing ghosts. Like, what in the world? Because my because my parents. So, and I've learned from them. Like in Haiti, ghosts and all the paranormal investigation. Like that's not a thing
Oh, yeah.
at all. Like that's not a thing to them. It's like no. So we don't do voodoo. That we grew up Catholic, but there are those who do. And
Yes.
with that, spirits and everything was always looked at more as a negative. So when my parents came here to this country, when like how like it's Halloween, that's my favorite holiday. To them, they're like, why are you celebrating this? Like this, wait, why is this something fun? Like what is wrong with you? But
Right.
as I've gotten older, and just educated myself more in terms of the paranormal, which I passed that knowledge to them too. I mean, they're more accepting of it now, but they're still just like, what in the world? Like this is what you do? Like what? Because to them, spirits, ghosts, and all that jazz in Haiti is not something positive. It is like it's
Right.
not the way it is here. We see it's on television and there's shows and they don't do that. So to my parents are always just
Yeah.
like, wow, this is actually interesting, like weird because we didn't grow up like this, but
Right.
interesting. Now they accept it. They're like, okay,
Exactly.
that's our daughter. Great. But
Right. Just like everything else unknown. Anything
exactly.
and everything else
Yeah.
that's brand new or unknown
Yeah.
or like not the norm,
Yeah.
everybody looks at it with a hairy
Yeah.
eyeball. And I'm just like, look, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna need you to just breathe.
Just breathe.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, and I hate a sticker. You're talking about, looking at the spiritual world as like a negative thing or a positive thing. It's like, it's just a thing,
It's a
y'all.
thing.
Like, that's just what it
It's a
is.
thing. Yes.
Yes, it just like in life, you
Yes.
have good people and you got people who don't necessarily have the best intentions.
Yes.
I don't want to call them bad people. I just want to say people who don't have the best
Yeah.
intentions. Okay, super. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's just that they have left this earthly plane and they perhaps inhabit in a way that they can either help you or they might not help you.
Correct.
It's knowing how to deal with it,
Correct.
to navigate
Correct.
this in a way so that you get maximum benefit and also protect yourself from any, who might have less than positive intentions.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I don't enter with fear. I enter with intelligence. I
Yes.
enter with caution.
Yes.
Fear is not something I want to approach anything in my life with any
Mm-hmm.
longer.
Yes.
I just want to be smart and I want to know.
Yes.
I want to approach it with curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
wonderful acting teacher. She says, "Don't be judgmental." She says, "Be curious." And then it was funny
Ooh.
because later it came to roost in Ted Lasso, whom I love. Love that character,
Mm,
love that
yes.
show. And it was just like, be curious, not
I
judgmental. I
love
was like,
that.
oh,
I love that. I love
so
that.
good.
That's
We
good.
cut ourselves off if
Yes,
we don't approach it with something like
of
that
course.
because the world moves quickly,
So
okay?
fast.
Like everything around us, no one has patience.
Mm.
No one has anything
Nope.
like that. Pardon the broad sweeping
Yep.
generalization. If you don't
It's
If you
true.
don't approach it with an open heart and curiosity, fine. There are 47 people behind you that might. So I'm
Yes.
just going to pick up this gift and I'm
Yes.
going to take it to someone who's more willing to accept it right
Of
away.
course.
I hate having to work for it. I think everybody does. Path of least
Yeah.
resistance. It's just the way of nature,
Yeah.
y'all. It's just the way that
It's
goes.
true.
And now we know to look for it. And so we do.
Yeah.
And so keeping yourself open and ready for whatever is out there new, saying yes, is so much more important and
Yeah.
more valuable and more rewarding.
Yes. It's so true. It's so true. And again, just leaving yourself open to receive. Oh, it's just being open to receive. I mean, that
Thank
is
you.
so big. That is so huge. You'll receive things you may not have even thought was possible. But again, you have to be open in order to receive. Don't close yourself off.
Amen.
Don't do that.
Please.
Please don't close yourself off.
Thank you. And the way that you speak about the spiritual realm and those kinds of things, it's always so wonderful to me because I
Thank
keep
you.
trying to find a way to align that with everyone that may be listening.
Yes,
We don't know everything that's out
of
there.
course.
We get so confident in thinking that we've got a handle on everything. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, friends,
Far from it.
bless your sweet little pea picking
It's
heart.
true. It's true.
You think you know everything that is that you want out of this life. And if you just kind of like put the vibe out there,
Yes.
and I know how that sounds very 60s, smoke a bowl, hug a tree. Like, look, if you just put the intention into the
Yes.
world, there are forces everywhere conspiring for your success to an
Yes.
abundance
Yes.
that you have no capacity to even conceive.
Yes. 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 And yes.
The
Oof.
abundance will overwhelm you in the
Oof.
best way possible if only you leave yourself open to accept it.
Absolutely.
It's always so
Absolutely.
interesting to me to see how many people out there want what they tell me they want. And then they
Mm-hmm.
continue to close themselves off,
Yes.
or they doubt, or they hesitate. And I get it. People are cautious because they may
Of
have been
course.
burned. I don't know everyone's history.
Right.
Approaching something, some of my most admirable friends, in my opinion, are the people who continue to put themselves out there to be loved and to love,
Mm.
and they continue to hit this incredible high, and it is often followed by a devastating low.
Yes. Yep.
And
Yeah.
yet they persevere.
Yes.
And I love them for
I
that.
love
And I was
that.
like, now, even though I may be a chicken butt when it comes to that kind of thing, when it comes to travel, when it comes to leaving myself open for abundance and positivity
Absolutely.
and sharing and connection, I can't get
Yes,
enough.
yes, yes, and yes. And also, we just think about the law of attraction, right? Like people tend to forget the law of attraction. Abundance is everywhere. Oh my goodness, it is
Right?
everywhere. I mean, and even when we hit our low points, or not so favorable points, it's because there's something greater coming behind it. Or like I think
Agree.
about like tarot, right? Like the tower card. Tarot, it's
Mhm.
like the tower card is chaos and destruction and it looks so chaotic. And usually it's because there's something so beautiful coming after it. And one quote I think
Yes,
about, one of my sorority sisters has said to me, she's like, you know, Bianca, there's a lot of things that you've been through, but you still persevere in spite of. And I think in spite of, that's my quote for 2024. You know, in spite of XYZ, I'm still going, I'm still kicking, I'm still pushing, I'm still doing all of the things. In spite of, you know, James, you're still working, you're still kicking, you're still traveling, you're still doing all the things. So in spite of, I think we have to think of that and hold on to that. And that will allow us to continue to persevere.
I agree. Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it never I love the fact that you brought up the, like, the chaos and the destruction and things. It reminds me of that quote or that passage that says it's just like, if someone did not know what a seed was,
Mm.
that would look like the end instant
Mm.
because the seed must literally break down and destroy itself before the true magic begins.
Wow.
And I love that because destruction must happen. Oh, same thing for a butterfly.
Yes.
They spin this cocoon, they
Yes.
literally turn into a pile of goop,
Literally.
and in a week, however many days it takes to gestate, they emerge
Yes. Yes.
glorious,
Yes.
beautiful,
Yes.
fragile yet incredibly strong,
Yes. Yes.
and not looking anything
Mm-mm.
like what they did when they.
Mm-mm. At all. At all. At all.
And I'm like, and there are multiple
Yes.
examples of this
Yes.
in nature,
Yes.
in power around us. Literally, if we just have the moment to shut up
That part.
and take in instead of just thinking we know everything. And it's just so funny, too, to think that this finite being, this meat puppet that we inhabit, because we are the spirit inside,
Yes.
this is just the vehicle.
Yes.
To think that it starts and ends here is so small.
So
It's
small.
so
Oh my
limiting.
God. Yes.
And to think that what we are, this is just how we get around.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't stop here. There is this power that literally just vibrates, radiates from
Yes.
each one of us as you learn to grow inside that
Of
strength,
course.
to connect to people and to help them grow. We are nourishment to each other.
Yes. Yes, we are. Yes, we
We're
are.
going deep in the paint with the woo
Yes.
woo
Oh,
today,
yeah, we are.
Bianca.
Oh,
Okay,
and I'm
just
here
so we're
for it.
clear.
Oh, no,
Okay,
right. Just for
right.
everyone to be clear, we're going in
That's
today,
it.
and this is happening.
We're, yes. No apologies
No,
and no breaks,
no,
baby.
not at
We
all.
are all
We're all
accelerated all the time. Yeah.
in. We're all in, and to piggyback off of you also.
Yeah.
Again, that comes with being aware, the self awareness. I'm very much. I love meditation. I love just taking a few minutes out daily just to myself, get myself together. You know, just be right within my own self. Feel my emotions, my thoughts. Just kind of do a Bianca check in. And I feel like when I
Yes.
do that, that allows me, again, to be open to receiving. You know, whether it's something I agree with or not, but the fact that is you are open to receive. Like that is the big thing. You are open to connect. You are open to learning. You're open to abundance. You're open to knowledge. But you have to be right within yourself to be able to do that.
Agree. So many people hit the ground running.
Yeah.
They just hit the ground running. They don't take any moment.
Right.
And I'm just like, okay, look, and I'm not asking for much.
Right.
I'm literally asking for 10 minutes,
Literally.
10.
Literally.
Just to sort of like feel how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Just sit in it for a second.
Yeah.
Like this morning I was talking with one of my friends and it got emotional. Like
Mm.
I'm starting to leak from the eyeballs, which is not a huge feat. Everybody knows that I cry at the drop of a hat. it's good to be in touch with yourself
Yes.
like that, especially right before I get online with you to have this incredible
Yeah.
connection.
Yes.
I want to be in a space where I am open to it, where I'm inviting it
Yes.
into my own soul so that we can share that
It's
kind
true.
of
It's
power.
true.
Because people don't understand, like, I'm not talking about like, oh, this is a warm fuzzy. No, I'm talking about like bringing yourself to a whole other level
Yes.
because you are willing and expressing this desire
Yes.
to have that abundance, not only for yourself, but for someone else,
Yes.
so that you can spread that around so all of us can elevate.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
It's
yeah.
so important,
Could not agree more.
especially if someone isn't used to doing that.
Right.
We got to lead.
Right, right. We do. I mean, we have to lead by example. And
Yes.
super quick, that just reminded me. This was actually this past
Yeah.
Thursday. I was with my students, my nursing students, and I remember, a couple of them, they're going through it. They're stressed. Like, Professor, we're so stressed out and everything. And I'm like, I get it. You guys are halfway through a semester. You guys are gonna graduate soon. You guys have to really focus and, giving them tips and advice. And I asked them, something prompted me to ask them, like, do you guys meditate? Like, does any of you guys meditate? They're like, Professor, we don't have time. We don't have time to meditate. And I said, you don't
Mm,
have 5 minutes. 5 minutes out of the day to take for yourself. And they kind of just looked at me like, I guess. So I gave them all an exercise to basically start with 5 minutes a day. And then in 2 weeks, work up to
amazing.
10 minutes a day of just meditation. They're like, wait, but what if someone calls us? And I said, no what ifs, no excuses. If you're home, you let everyone know, hey, I need 5 minutes. You put your phone on do not disturb. You can even set an alarm for 5 minutes, so you don't feel inclined to look at your phone and, keep checking your phone. Just set a timer for 5 minutes and just take
Mhm.
that time to yourself. And that was
Amen.
something where I felt inclined, like I have to let them know that. Because once I walked in, the vibes were off, and I'm like, "Whoa, what's going? Like, what happened? What's going on with everyone?" And they're just like, "Professor, we didn't even say anything to you. Like, how did you know?" I'm like, "I just walked in and just felt like I walked into a wall." And I'm like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" Come to
Right?
find out, some of them were doing poorly in another class. So that's when they were venting and everything. So I'm like, "Okay, this
Mhm.
is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do." But again,
Mhm.
when them ask me like, "But how did you know?" And I'm like, "Energy. You guys are all balls of energy, literally balls of energy."
Right?
And I walked in, and when I
Yes.
walked in, I felt like I walked into a wall. And that's why I was like, what happened? What's going on, guys? And they're like, wow,
Yep.
you gotta pass it
And
on.
people don't realize just because they may not believe in it,
Right.
quote unquote, we don't need your belief,
No,
kids.
we don't need it.
If I walked in and you knew immediately that I knew and you asked me
Right.
why and I told you, believe
Oh,
me.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Please
Just
do.
believe me.
Something's off.
I think you and I talked about this. Like if I concentrate too hard on somebody that I haven't spoken to in a while,
Yes.
I'll hear from them within the next 48
Easy.
hours.
Easy.
If that long.
Yeah.
And if it's somebody I don't want to talk to, I try to like clear my
I
mind so
know.
I
Me
don't think about them as
too.
hard.
Me too. I'm not gonna lie.
I said it. I said what I
I said
said.
what I said
We're here
too.
about candor. I was like, yeah. I was like, all right, great. But it is shocking to me
Yeah.
to know like we are
We're
connected.
connected.
And
We're
and
so
instead of
connected.
like immediately shutting that down, because I know that there's somebody out there that's listening to this and they're 100% doubting Thomas, and that's
It's
okay.
okay. No
I'm not
worries.
knocking it. Before you shut it down, just leave yourself open to the possibility
Correct.
that perhaps
Correct.
that's really happening.
Correct.
And also, would you like that to happen?
Hmm.
Would you like to be able to focus on someone that you would love to speak with and, really concentrate on their well-being and
Yes.
then within 48 hours hear from them? Think how useful that could
Oh my
be.
goodness. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people out there, they're concerned. Like they
Yes.
get to a point when in their relationships, like, have I let this gone too long without talking to it? Is it salvageable? And if you
Mm.
just took a moment to focus on that and really just put your intention, your energy toward it, without having to reach out and make the first step, the whole thing sort of like funnels to
Yes.
you to give you the sign. Again, there's that woo woo that this is either a relationship that is still abundant. It's underneath a little bit of dead skin
Yes.
versus something that has probably moved on to another era, and that will probably be something you don't want to continue.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Knowing is the goal
Yes.
there. It's not necessarily salvaging or wishing it well. It's just knowing which one it is.
Yes.
And you can.
Yes. And like exactly how you said, James, leaving yourself open to it. Just that little smidget of possibility, just leaving yourself open to it. Um, And I also believe in being intentional as well. So put your mind to it. Think about it. Just again, we're
Yes.
not saying, oh my goodness, go full fledged in. We're not saying that at all. But just leaving
Mhm.
yourself open to that possibility and being intentional about it, I'm telling you, you'll get results. You will. You will.
I love talking with you because whenever
Thank you.
you say these things, they're so well
Thank
described that
you.
it makes a picture in my mind. Whenever you're talking about just putting your intention toward it, not just like beating it to death with
Yes.
your thoughts, but like literally just like reaching out. What I think of is whenever you've seen these people who use wine glasses for
Oh
instruments and
yeah.
they'll like dip
Yes.
and they'll give
And
it a
they
little
yes.
wing. That is what I think of whenever you describe it that way. I didn't
Mm.
beat that crystal goblet. What I did was I dipped my finger in there and I gave it the vibration. I made the
Ooh.
note and it sent that into the world.
Mm.
And it will either come back to me or it won't. But I have put that intention
Yes.
out there. It is gentle, it is specific,
Yes.
it has its own pitch,
Yes.
and it will either be met or it will just dissipate to entertain other spirits out there
Yes.
doing a very similar
Yes.
situation.
Thank you, James.
It's never wasted. Oh my
Thank
god, of
you.
course.
Thank
Thank
you. You're
you
welcome.
for igniting this. Like, oh, I love that idea.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
It's
you.
so fun to talk with my guests because they're so interesting,
Yeah.
they're so passionate, they're so intelligent, and
Thank
they're
you.
so focused.
Thank you.
A lot of these things are just they're so very specific to who you are and your spirit, and you're so true to it.
Thank you.
And I think that I love showing that to anyone who's willing to listen or watch
Yes.
because I think a lot of people don't really realize how many people there are in the world exactly like
Oh
that.
yes. Oh yes.
Because I think that they are as well. And if they're not, maybe they want to be, but
Yes.
they're not sure where to start.
Right.
Pick your flavor, honey girl.
We have nothing
Sweet,
but
precious.
flavors.
You just, that's it.
It's true.
And once you really devote, like once you really go into
Yeah.
it, I think the world has a wonderful way of serving up more people of that ilk
Mm.
that will continue to guide and sort of like brush against you to make
Yes.
sure that you know you're on the right path because
Yes.
you're following your heart.
Yes.
You're going after your passion, and that's what the world needs. The
Yes.
world doesn't need more money. The world
We
doesn't
don't.
need more any of these.
We
What the
don't.
world needs is more people following their passion
Yes.
and showing people how to live like that again.
Correct. Correct. I feel like we lost track right now. The world
Yeah.
is in chaos, it's in mayhem. Every day you're hearing something new and it's just like WTF, what is going on here? What look, it's
Right?
always something. But again, knowing when to kind of just tune out a bit, like not being ignorant to what's going on in the world, but also understanding yourself and when it's time to like, okay, let me shut the TV off a little bit, or let me, put social media on break a little bit and just again tapping into yourself, into your passions, into what you love, so you'll be able to emit that love and energy back out into the world. Like we need some of that sunlight. Like James, we need you. Like we need you.
Thank you. We need
Please.
us, doll,
You're,
because I that's why you're
thank
here.
you.
There was such a strong connection whenever you and I got to meet before. I was
Easy.
like, "I can't
I was like,
wait.
I
This is
love him.
what I'm
Yeah.
here
Oh
for."
yeah.
Because there is a spirit in you, there is a light
Thank
that
you.
has no choice but to ignite and warm
Mm,
everyone around you.
thank you.
If they're open to it, if they're even remotely curious about making more of the person they are,
Yes.
you're the kind of person that does exactly that. You're not a
Mm.
push. What you are is a hug with like a nudge.
Oh
And that is one of those things that like people have that energy inside them. What they need is a direction to push
yes.
it.
Yes.
And that's where people like you come in because you see that energy and
Mm.
that like kinetic feel. And you're like, okay, so let me just point out a few directions you may
Right.
take this
Right.
so that you can start working on your own momentum. And then that energy becomes less frantic and frenetic and it becomes
Mm.
productive.
Mm.
It becomes its own light that continues to brighten and warm. And by God, here's something I love too. It'll either warm you, or if you don't get out of the way, it'll burn you to a
That
crisp. And
part.
I'm fine with that
That
too.
part. And it's
Step
okay.
aside.
Yep. Step aside, my love.
Don't be an obstacle.
Right. Right.
If you don't want to go, that's
That's okay.
100% fine. Don't you try to stop
Yeah.
it
Don't
because
do
I
that.
will burn you to
Easy.
a cinder.
Easy. Easy. And if there's one thing
Won't
about
think
me,
twice.
I will always say I am a phoenix. I am a phoenix. So please, my love. A calm phoenix, but also a phoenix when I
Oh,
need to be.
thank you. Absolutely. It's not a threat.
No,
That's not anything of the core. It's just when I
no,
burn, please understand that I burn brightly and I
correct,
burn hot.
correct.
Now you can either be ignited by that and we can both burn
Easy.
brilliantly, or you can be the fuel.
Yeah,
That's
that's
entirely in
fine.
your camp.
That's fine.
Entirely.
That's fine.
Yeah, but please understand, I'm gonna burn,
Easy. Easy.
and you have been
You've
told.
been
It's not a
told. Yep.
warning, it's a
It's a
promise.
promise. And if you need me to buy you a pair of UV lighting sunglasses, I got you too. Oh, James, you are such a pleasure. I love talking to you so much. Like, I love
I
books.
love talking.
I really do.
Good. Thank you. I promise you that feeling is mutual because
Oh,
my face hurts after I
me
get off the phone with you. I'm just like,
too.
"Woo, because I have a wonderful slash terrible habit of smiling with every tooth in my body.
Me too.
If I'm really enjoying myself, you're gonna know because I
Yep.
look like a donkey. I'm just like, yeah,
Not a donkey.
every wrinkle, my lips peeled back. I'm just like, this is my jam.
I
This is where I
love
love to
it. I
live.
love it. I love
Oh,
it. Oh, I love it. I love it. And I hope that,
so
we're inspiring some of your amazing listeners as well.
Oh, I hope so. I love my listeners. They're such incredible people. They continue to come back
Yes.
and I tell them all the time, it's like, I hope that what we're doing isn't just you listening. I'm hoping that what we say is enough to get you to talk back
Yes.
to whatever device you're listening on. If
Yes.
you're in the car, if you're on your phone, you're like, yes,
Yes.
amen. Or like, are you out your ever loving
Yes.
mind?
Yes.
Yes, I just
Yes.
want to stir
Yes.
something in you that you have to respond.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We live on such a muted level so
Oh
many
my
times. Like, I
gosh,
know
yes.
people work and they've got so many
Of
responsibilities and they've
course.
got families and things like that. And I love and I give all the respect and honor to
Of
that.
course.
Please understand. Thank you for what you do for your family and for what that means to us as a community.
Absolutely.
Also, I'm like, hey, if you need somebody to kind of like just kind of give you a little bump, a little love,
Yes.
you are in the right spot.
Yes.
This is the channel, this is the place.
Definitely.
'Cause
Definitely.
I'm just here to pump you
Yeah.
up, and whenever I bring on people like Bianca, like, y'all buckle up, buttercup, we about to get after
We're
it.
coming. In the most
Right.
loving way, I promise, but we're coming.
100%, and it's funny, a friend of mine, he was giving me back some of the pump up, some of the hype that I'd been giving him because
Oh,
he was having a tough time with some relationship stuff,
understood.
and he starts, like, pumping back at me. I was like, "Okay, now this is a lot. This is a
Oh my
lot." But I
gosh.
recognize my own words,
Yes.
so thank you for listening and
Yes.
also knock it off.
You're like, this is
'Cause it's
cool and all, but
we're a lo we're a lot.
right. We
We are a
really
lot,
are.
and then you and I get on the same channel, I'm like, "Ooh, Lord, I hope y'all are ready for this. Hope you had your coffee,
It's true.
'cause
We're taking
we
off.
about to pump you full of voltage."
So true. But the fact is, we will pump you up. That's just what it is. We
Mhm,
will pump you up, and in some way, shape, or form, we have left a footprint or an image.
and we're permission givers.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I'm
Oh
I'm
yes.
I'm I'm not tooting my horn, I'm hugging you and saying, "We do what we do as fully as we do it to make sure if people are watching and want to do it, it's not hard.
Correct.
It's not
Correct.
expensive.
Correct.
It's not entirely time consuming. I
Correct.
understand that you have a lot of needs and pressing items on your to-do
Of
list
course.
in your day. These kind of things can be done and these sorts of emotions can be cultivated through
Of course.
minutes a
Of
day.
course. It's true. It's true.
And it's well worth the investment.
Oh, 100%. And, for anyone that's listening, if they're asking, like, okay, just my intuition, like, how do I get started? How do I make that voice, my inner voice, louder? Take 5 minutes a day. Literally, 5 minutes a day. Put your phone on Do Not
Mhm.
Disturb. Tell people don't bother you for those 5 minutes and just listen. I don't care if you're in your pajamas, whatever you're wearing, just listen to yourself. 5 minutes. That's it. That's all I
Yes.
ask.
Bianca, thank you so much for joining
Oh,
us,
thank
sweet.
you. Thank you for
Oh my
having me.
gosh.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
What
Thank you. Thank
what an
you.
amazing
This
experience.
was amazing.
Now, if I may ask, I want to make sure that we have any and every bit of contact that we can make with you in the show notes. So we want Instagram, we want website, we want to make sure if you have any classes or instruction available for these kind of things, listening to your intuition, cultivating your third eye,
Mhm.
however it is that you want to talk about these kinds of things, please, please, please make sure we have that.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen listening, listen and look in the notes,
Yeah.
because if you want to follow what we've been doing today with this amazing woman, we're going to make that so unbelievably simple for you. It's going to be comical,
Thank you.
okay? So we're going to fill it in the show
Yes.
notes just to make sure that anything that you want to know more about the paranormal, about cultivating these feelings, these intuitions,
Yes.
those kind of things, that you've got someone who really spends the time and knows the
Yes.
program to make sure that you've got a really competent and loving guide.
Thank you. Oh, James, you're
Of
everything.
course.
You're everything. Like, that's all I can say is just you're
Thank you.
everything. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first episode of Radical Joy, you're welcome. What a way to start. Oh my goodness, what an absolutely incredible time to be here with us at Radical
Yes.
Joy. Welcome. We're glad you're here. If this is not your first episode, welcome back. If this doesn't keep you around, I don't know what will. Thank you so much for joining us on such a nourishing
Yes.
hour of Radical Joy. I have so enjoyed being here with you, Bianca,
Thank
and
you.
of course, sharing with all of our listeners that have been with here today.
Thank you.
If you are the review type, please make sure you go to whatever platform where you're listening and leave us a 5-star review. Take a screenshot of that and send it to us, because we would love to send you a sticker from the Radical Joy podcast to put on your journal or your water bottle or your computer, wherever it is you want to stick a sticker. We love sending this out to you, and I cannot stress to you how important it is that you download or share or review this, because word of mouth is our bread and butter.
Yes.
And we love that the things we do here are things you enjoy and hopefully help you along your day and your week.
Yes.
As always, thank you so much for joining us here at Radical Joy, and please always remember,
Love you.
we love y'all.
The bottom line is, use your words, friends. Thank you for joining us again in this moment of Radical Joy. If this is your first time, we're so happy you're here. Take a moment to check out our archive, see if there's something else that fires you up, rekindles the joy in you. And hey, spread the word if you enjoyed it. We welcome reviews and messages. Let me know what you want to talk about. I rarely run out of things to say. So if there's something on your mind or heart, I want to hear from you. Don't forget, there is no shame in joy. I am not a therapist or a medical professional. If you're experiencing a mental health emergency, please call 911. This content and other content produced by CLW Studios and affiliated partners is not therapy, and nothing in this content indicates a therapeutic relationship. Any opinions of guests on this podcast are their own and do not represent the opinions of James or CLW Studios. Please consult with your therapist or seek one in your area if you're experiencing mental health symptoms. Anything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Learn more about James and CLW Studios. Follow the link in the show notes. Don't forget to leave a review, and hey, we'll send you a sticker. Just send a screenshot and let us know where you want it sent. Have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday for another dose of Radical Joy. Love y'all.